Louis don't be thinking that thinking with his dick, because he don't make no sense. I say, let me tell you. Anyway, before I get carried away, Lord, I have to deep sigh because I really want to know what y'all have me watching. At least 3 times watching this episode, I pause the TV and I say, what these people have me watching? I did not want to watch this show, you know, because I watched the movie Interview with a Vampire and I didn't like that shit. Like, I didn't like that shit. And all the people who love camp things, but to be like, oh my God, you could be all right. I didn't like it. So I was like, I ain't particularly into this. And now that I've watched the first episode, I will say I'm locked in, but I don't know if it's gonna be for the reasons y'all are locked in. I don't know how come y'all like the show or what y'all like about the show or who y'all like about the show. And I don't know if we could be on the same page, but I have lots of thoughts. So let's run it back. The episode opens with a reel about the career of a journalist named Daniel Malloy. About 49 years ago, Daniel Malloy had actually interviewed the vampire that is the star of this TV show. What he named? Louis Delac. That's what he named? Yes, Louis Delac. And so he gets another letter. He gets a letter in the mail from Louis Delac. Louis Delac had reached out to him saying he wanted his life story to be told. I want you to interview me and tell a story. That didn't go so well, right? Apparently, back then, Daniel Malloy was, I guess, on drugs and going through a bunch of shit in his life. And so their interview process didn't go right. And apparently how it ended was a old boy attacking him, like the vampire attacking him, like a vampire attack. And so now, 49 years later, Louis Delac is reaching out again saying, I want you to tell my story. I want to pick up where we left off. And the minute Daniel Malloy gets in his face, it's immediately hostile, it's tense. Daniel Malloy don't with him because who attacked me 49 years ago, and he's an old man and he's miserable. And Louis Delac is a cocky rich vampire who also deep in his business, because he says, oh, I see you have Parkinson's, you become an old man and you have Parkinson's, which isn't public information. The only people who know that about Daniel Malloy is his family and his doctor. So Daniel Malloy has a whole attitude, a full-blown attitude, because he had attacked him, right? Plays a tape from 49 years ago where on the tape you could hear where Louis Delac gets mad at him for some question he must have asked and then attacks him. And so then he says in present day, he turns off the audio and goes, you were disrespectful. You weren't worthy of hearing my story then. And Daniel Malloy is like, maybe the story wasn't worthy of being told, right? And then they have a quick little back and forth. And Daniel Malloy says, look, I was high. That's why. Yes, I agree. It wasn't great because Louis Delac is talking shit. The vampire is talking shit. He's like, oh, you were sloppy. You was an amateur. You asked all the wrong questions. You did all the wrong stuff. And it really makes you wonder, then why the you talking to him? If 50 years ago he didn't do it right and you attacked the man, why are you bothering him? All these journalists in the world, all this time you've been a vampire, surely you have more access, but whatever. So Daniel Malloy is like, listen, whatever, you want to tell us story, I'm ready to do it now, and I'm an old man, I'm very irritable, so let's just hurry up. And I feel him. I want y'all to know Daniel Malloy is my favorite character, okay? Because that's the show of patience I feel with Louis and all the foolishness that we about to see. Oh my Lord. Just as a quick nod to Louis' little arrogance, right? He was like, I'm surprised you remember me. You didn't mention me in your memoir. And Daniel is like, you know, something about mentioning vampires might have had thinking I was crazy. Like, be serious. You think I was gonna talk about vampires in my memoir? Act like you have sense. They begin the interview and Louis begins his story by taking us all the way back to forever ago in New Orleans. His family, he lets us know off the rip that his family have money. They had originally had like sugarcane plantation money, and once their daddy died, he became the executive of his daddy's estate, and now he's a pimp. Now they have a bunch of brothels. So they still got money, but for more unsavory things. One of the first things we see, he basically has all these brothels on Liberty Street. We see him that there's an incident at one of his brothels. This one of his gals named Bricks had beat up the white man. She beat him up with a bat because he tried to ass without her permission. Fair. And it's funny, so Louis comes to come and try and like help the man. He's like, Bricks, why you do this? Because this is alderman, so this is like some prestigious white man, right? And she don't care. She still popping shit. She have the brick. She's like, anybody put their dick in my ass and he ain't ask me, I could beat your ass. She's like, maybe I might have said yeah if he did ask me, but just doing it, no sir. And all the other gals sitting at the door giggling. And the white guy, even though this man's sitting here bleeding and down bad, the minute Louis go touch him, he's like, oh, get your hands off me, boy. And then Louis is like, excuse me, I'm not the other look at me good. And he's like, oh, my fault, Louis, that's you. Okay. Then when Louis leaves there, we meet Louis's brother Paul. Louis's brother Paul literally got the Bible in his hand and he is preaching. Listen, a real spread the gospel head ass, okay? He there preaching at one of Louis gals, telling him to stop this whoring life. Oh Lord, why you whoring? Everybody going to hell. And so Louis like, hey man, stop it. Get, carry ass. And his brother's like, listen, hey, you gotta stop this. They get into a fight. He go punch his brother punch him, and then he had to go pull out his knife on his brother, and his brother gone. Now while this is happening, this white man vampire is in the corner watching, nosy. Like, and you know what's crazy? I didn't see him. Like, we on Liberty Street, we in the middle of the street, and y'all don't see this pasty white vampire all in y'all business. Like, you wouldn't see this white. Imagine you in the middle of a moment, because that's what's actually happening. A moment.
Watch closely. You're about to experience a nigga moment. Webster defines the nigga moment as a moment when ignorance overwhelms the mind of an otherwise logical Negro male.
And then you don't see some white guy in the corner like this. After that, Louis explains to us that even though his brother Paul is a pain with all his Bible thumping and that he have issues and stuff, he actually loves his brother Paul and they're incredibly close, right? So then when we see his family, they having breakfast in the big fancy house. Cause like I say, they have money. Paul is in the house doing all kind of canvas. His mummy is Louis, it's Louis, Paul, their sister Gretna, and the mummy sitting at the table trying to have breakfast. But Paul is mad, talking about, oh, we need to stop all this whoring. This is a shame. We going to hell because of this whoring business. Oh, mummy, why you don't have a problem with this man whoring and shaming our family's legacy? And look at her, because she want to be all up in the money and fur and purr. She's like, Louis is working on getting us a more savory business, but for now, I like money and nice things, so not too much on all that. Look, Gretna's like, Lord God, I getting married in a couple of days, and still the only thing I want to do is have some peace at breakfast. Can you shut the up? And then Paul start getting on Gretna because he's upset about the fact that Gretna getting married. Gretna getting married to a man named Levi, and Paul don't like that the man is Baptist, apparently. Like, I don't know what the Baptists do. He say, Mummy, Gretna marrying a man that can have a jump in the broom. He say it like she was a Joneser, like a real Joneser witch, and he wanted to have the Salem witch trials. I was like, Lord, what is this? Now, this is when the plot really stopped moving. So remember I tell y'all, our man Louis is a pimp. Louis, the competitor, even though you can hardly call it a competitor because it's the white whorehouse, so it way fancier, way nicer, and again is exclusive to the whites essentially, except for I guess they let Louis go there because Louis is big money, because Louis is a pimp. The one black gal that Louis is go there to see, Miss Lily. Now, Louis is gay. At this point, Louis is not honest with himself about being gay or the world, but Louis is gay, and he's telling us in the story, listen, I was gay, and the way that I used to delude myself into believing that I was not gay because the religion and the times were at odds with who I was. So the way I would delude myself was by having this one gal that I would go deal with at Fair Plays, and that one gal named Miss Lily. So he go to Fair Play, the white people brothel, to go find Miss Lily. When he go find Miss Lily, she's sitting up there with the white vampire. Now, watch this. Soon as he get over there, the first thing the white vampire can say to him is, he was like, oh, you must be doing well in life that they let you pass the door considering your ailment. Your ailment being your black ass skin. And immediately Louis looking at him like, this racist son of a bitch, irritated, like, what the that mean? And he's like, oh, I don't mean to be offensive. You must be doing well. They letting in here. And Louis is like, so then the vampire, his name is Lestat Lion Court. Whatever, child. He named white vampire. The white vampire starts telling him, like, basically says, oh, we've met before, I've seen you before. And Louis is like, I don't know you. Apparently all look alike to you, but you ain't know me, son. And he was like, oh, but I do. Let me tell you the story about how I end up here. So he said he was on the boat, and then he smelled something, he heard some good music, and so then he wandered into the area of town to hear the music, but then he was really captivated by the food. And then as he was there experiencing the music and the food, he saw a moment. He saw Louis pulling the knife out on his brother, and he said to himself, I have to live here. I have to live here. Ain't nothing like family crime to make you want to move in. And then he called Louis handsome. And as he's saying all of this, Louis face still screw up, right? And Lily's like, oh, see, it's destiny. Yo, we're destined to be. And White Vampire is like, oh, we were destined to be friends. Meanwhile, and now he doing his vampire shit to have this man transfixed. So then as this conversation, this subtle dick measuring contest is going on, right? And Louis still glaring at this man. The man starts feeling up on Lily in front of him, right? We say he was mad that this was happening, but he was like seized with fear and couldn't react. And then, you know, it basically comes to who Lily, because I want to remind you, this is a whorehouse. So they basically start throwing their money on the table. Dick be like, who got the most money? And my man, when they match money at the White Vampire, pull off his ring to bring his bid over the top, and she gone to go White Vampire. And Louis say, I was so mad, I was emasculated, and I wanted to murder him, but I also wanted to be him. I say, whatever, child. He said he had come there for Lily, but he left only thinking about this White Vampire. And I'm like, now, in the very next scene, we see White Vampire. They don't show us as White Vampire, but we know it's White Vampire. Look at him. White Vampire attacks and murders this white man in the streets. And then after that, we're now at a poker game. Nothing but white men and Louis, right? So now Louis is there and White Vampire is at the table. And he there staring Louis down while they play this card game. So one of the white men at the table tries to offer a business endeavor to Louis, right? But then he only goes to offer him 10%. And Louis is like, you want me to do all the work for only 10%? What, it should be 15. They ask White Vampire what he thinks, and he starts talking to them, but basically he does his vampire magic, completely stops time, and starts only communicating with Luis through his mind. And he's like, 10%, 15%. Oh, why don't you know your worth? Why are you suffering these indignities? You know, these men, I hate how this country treats like you. You know, we don't do this in my country. And I was like, babe, you don't stop the cap. I say this lying sleazy vampire like they in France treating good. Man, shut the up. Like that shit irritate the shit out of me. Oh, in this primitive country, look at they treat. Oh, me, I'm so much better. The white man vampire taking advantage of all these privileges and the advantages of being supernatural and now being inside your mind. Anyways, so this exchange happens, and instead of Louis rebuking this in the name of Jesus and deciding to run as fast as humanly possible, he decides to become friends with him. And he said he kept asking him, you know, how did you do it? How did you do this trick? And every week he would tell me, oh, next week, tell me. And I'm like, trick? Like, what the fuck are we talking? Forgive me if I'm wrong, but if you went out, if you were at a table at a gathering and suddenly the white man across the table had frozen time and he was in your brain communicating with you, would you think this was just a card game or a parlor trick? Would that seem like somebody you want to kick it with? Look here. Louis don't be making sense, you know. Louis don't be making sense. So anyway, they decide to become friends. Now he all around the place with the white vampire all the time. What we gonna name him? We gonna name White Vampire LC. Lion Court, right? That's what he named. LC. He was running all around the place with LC, not realizing that LC is preying on him, right? And he running around so much with this damn white man that even his sister was like, so we gonna meet this white man you always seem to be with? What's up with that? And it's funny when he says that, Louis could go, he's not white, he's French. Huh? And I'm glad that Gretna have plenty sense and she reacted the way I did. She was like, oh, excuse me, white French. Like, what the? She was like, that's what we doing now? Like, he stopped me. This is a white man with blonde hair and ice cold demon blue eye. What is this? He's not white, he's French. Like, that's what? White, what you talking about? Anyways, he promises to come bring the man to dinner, and he also gives Gretna like tickets that he bought her to be husband, I guess, like for them to take trips to Europe for their honeymoon. While they're having this conversation, you could see Paul like right across the way looking at Paul, and Paul is like, he has his Bible and he's ranting about the Bible to somebody, but nobody, like there's nobody there. And so it seems like, you know, they're like, what are we gonna do with Paul, right? And Gretna's talking about a place that they could put Paul, and And Louis was like, we're not doing that. The last time we tried to do something like that, like, it's not happening. Like, completely dead that. And so they never explicitly say what's wrong with Paul. And I think they probably never explicitly say what's wrong with Paul because they don't know explicitly what's wrong with Paul in that period of time, right? Like, people's understanding of mental illness and all these different things. It seems from just my, like, speculating, like, Paul have a touch of like schizophrenia, it seemed like. And let me just tell you, the actor who's playing Paul is acting his ass off. And I can't even crack no jokes for real because like I really enjoyed the performance and I felt attached to the character almost immediately. Now, in this next scene, the dinner where they invited the vampire, LC. Now, remember I told y'all that Louis ain't making no sense to me, right? Like it didn't. Let's just count all the times. Let's just put up all the red flags all the times Louis don't make no good decisions. So we're now at deciding to befriend the man who had stopped time and been in your mind. Now he has that man at the table. So Paul ain't internet. Paul, they have that man at the table as a guest at the table, and they have Gretna soon to be husband at the table. Now, as you know, Paul don't like the fact that Gretna's marrying this Baptist man, and he damn sure don't like this confusing white vampire at the table. So Paul asked LC, do you know Christ? And when he asked him this, mind you, Louis was like, shut your mouth, Paul. And I didn't like that. Don't scream at Paul. I don't like how they treat Paul sometimes. Like, I understand you frustrated. Maybe it's because my brother's are autistic, so I don't like that. Like, but he screamed at Paul. And then Louis was like, no, don't worry about it. I can answer. And then he starts telling this story. He starts telling a story about how he's so far from Christ and what his experience is, but he starts doing it by being in his mind, like freezing time. You could see the fear on Paul's face while he goes in his mind, and Louis realizes what he's doing and he bangs on the table and he's like, don't do that to my family, right? And I'm just like, and then immediately in the next scene, and then LC like apologizes to his mommy for being rude, right? Like, oh, the rudeness is on me. And in the next, he was like, oh, I've always had a temper. Then in the next scene, we see Louis and LC walk in, and LC's apologizing for doing that to his brother. And he was like, no, it's okay. If I had your tricks, I would have done the same. And I'm like, first and foremost, stop calling it tricks. This is the devil. Like, what the are you? Stop calling it tricks. People don't just, like, that's not a trick. That's not a magic trick. That's not a parlor trick. Like, people just do not possess the ability to be in people's brain. You should be far more concerned as to what this monster is. Now, but I'm like, second of all, you would have done it too. You just watch this white devil come into your house, freeze time, get inside your brother's brain, looked at the trauma on your brother's face, and you thought to yourself, this your man's? Let me go on a midnight stroll with him? Oh, that's okay. If I had your tricks, I'd have done the same thing too. Bitch assness, Louis. Bitch assness. Like, Louis don't be thinking that thinking with his dick, because he don't make no sense. I say, let me tell you. Anyway, before I got carried away. So Levi was like, no, like, you know, don't be mad at your brother or whatever. Like, you should envy your brother. And Louis was like, why would I envy him? He believes that God is talking to him through the birds in his head. And then they continue talking about dinner. And Elsie brings up the fact that Louis had lied to them about a play they had gone to see together. And he had said that he left early. And Elsie was like, why are you lying? You were actually really moved by it and crying. And Louis explained to them, like, listen, I have to be tough, okay? Ain't nobody into all of that. Like, when my daddy died, we was 4 months away from bankruptcy, and I had to take over everything, and so I have to show strength. You can't be telling these people, like, crying at plays, man. I look like... So then, all of a sudden, Elsie goes, shall we have a nightcap? And he was like, you know, because he ain't want to seem gay. So he's like, oh no, I think I'm going to call it to bed for the night. And then he is like, oh, I have a gift for you. And then you look up and you see the gift is Miss Lily. So now they have Miss Lily getting naked for the two of them, even though Miss Lily quickly exposes, even though Louis is be going and paying Miss Lily, they don't never actually do anything. All he does is talk to her because Louis is gay. This is just for appearances. So now they have her start kissing up and grinding up on Louis. And then Elsie is watching them. He watching them from the next couch. And so now Louis, oh Lord, Louis getting excited because Elsie watching him, because he wouldn't be into Miss Lily. Miss Lily feeling up on him, but the only reason why he into that is because Elsie sitting across from him, literally in his brain, communicating. Like, let me tell y'all, the only thing, I just hope y'all are not expecting me to root for this relationship. Because y'all have to be crazy if y'all expect me to root for this relationship. Because you know what kind of absurd power dynamic this is. Like, this is not just a white man in what is this? A white man in the Reconstruction era, but a vampire. One who is literally going in this man's brain and manipulating it. Oh, the stress. Elsie, at this point, Elsie comes from off the couch and literally comes onto the couch with Louis and Lily, and they start like making out, like both like kissing and feeling upon Lily and whatever. And then Elsie goes to go touch Louis. He immediately like smacks his hand because Lily there, so he have to play straight in front of Lily. And Lily was like, "It's okay." And then instantly, Elsie put her to sleep anyway because she was only there to lure this man who he knows, to lure this human man who is in the closet, uncomfortable with his sexuality and not a willing, consensual partner to none of this. He only brought Lily to lure this in the crib. So now he then puts Lily to sleep so that then they could still have wild vampire demon sex. Listen to me. Why they have these people start and levitating and vampiring. Like, not only he could bite this man, then they levitating in the air while he behind him. I paused the TV. I say, what this is they have me watching. Like, what this is they have me watching. What this is they have me watching. So then you cut to the present where Louis is explaining this story to Daniel Malloy. He asked Daniel Malloy, like, you remember when you used to do drugs? Do you remember the best high you ever had? And Daniel Malloy was like, yes, nigga, 1978. And he said, well, imagine that, and then times it by a bunch of trips and a bunch of trips to the different galaxies and blah, blah, blah. I said, oh my God, you thirst bucket loser. He's like, oh, he say a bunch of dramatic words for this was the best sex he ever had. And it's like, this is a vampire manipulating you, taking control of you. He was like, oh, it was the best sex he ever had because the experience of him biting him, you know what I mean, and doing a little drink, right? Instead of actually draining him, you know, he just took a little bit of blood, which, you know, shows so much restraint or whatever, that he did that. And that made him feel like a certain level of intimacy or whatever, and so close to him. And he had actually never been intimate or close or shown or vulnerable or showed him his real self to anybody in the world, let alone a man. And I'm just like, that's because this man is... Anyway, child, let's just Elsie. So when Louis say, wow, this the closest I ever felt to anybody. I'm never coming back here again. Now, the next thing we see, after that, Louis stuff Elsie all together. Then when we next see is Gretna's wedding. Everybody at the wedding hype. They did, in fact, jump the broom, and Paul is seated. Then after that, we have like a lot of cute scenes with Paul and Gretna and Louis. Louis and Paul do a full tap dancing routine. And I do think it's funny that 2 scenes ago, you was white man and now you physically tap dancing. Then him and Paul decide to go climb up to the roof to go watch the sunrise, which I guess is something they always used to do. So as they sitting on top there, Paul's talking to him. He's like, do you think Levi loves Gretna? And he's like, yeah, I think so. And he's like, do you think he loves her with everything he's got? Because she needs a lot of love. And Levi's like, yeah, I think so. And he's like, and what about you? You still hanging around with that white devil? And he was like, no, that didn't work out. And he said, good, because he's the devil. And Louis tried to be like, no, he's not the devil. And Paul was like, no, he is the devil. He literally told me so. He talked to me without moving his lips. And let me tell you, I don't know why that wasn't immediately alarming to Louis. Like, your brother, like, because you know it's true. You know that is really what he was doing and what he is. So, like, your brother's reading of it should be serious. And you should also be thinking about what the impact that would be on your brother, right? Like, if he knows his brother has issues, his brother's already seeing people, hearing voices, all these different things. Imagine a white man that he see and perceive as the devil physically when he already thinks that he has from God and stuff like that. And this white devil comes and sits in his house, freezes time, gets in his brain, and obviously told him some sick, wicked shit. But again, stigmatized Louis ain't thinking about nothing. And this really, I ain't gonna lie, this really break my heart, babe. Because Paul was like, I love you, Louis. And Louis was like, I love you too. And he ain't even notice Paul walk right off the roof and kill himself. Like,
I really miss my nigga. I really miss my nigga. White people you can sing it to, just change that into a W. Miss my wigger.
And that really makes me wonder too, what that or Paul, like, what did he do? You know what I mean? What did he do? And if you see based on the rest of the events that Elsie is a wicked bitch, kill that boy, brother, babe. You can't tell me that that's unrelated to whatever that did when he put him in that trance. Unfortunately for Louis, his mommy going to go blame him. Ain't that some shit? When they sitting down, his mommy is like, what did you say to your brother to make him kill himself? Like, he's going to hell. You know he can't go to heaven after having killed himself. Meanwhile, the preacher in the room is like, no, he didn't kill himself. He slipped and fell. Because, you know, that's how religious people have to go. When people commit suicide, they have to rewrite the narrative. Louis is sitting there looking at his mommy like horrified, heartbroken, you know, love his brother, just saw his brother die, had nothing to do with why his brother killed himself, and his mommy sitting there blaming him. She actually fixed her mouth to tell this boy that his brother's in hell because of him. Louis literally say the last sunrise he ever saw was with his brother, and he don't even miss the sun because it carries with it terrible memories. Now, this one, like Elsie, this white vampire, start infuriating me. This man is at his brother's funeral. Y'all believe this vampire roll up on him to confront him about ghosting him at his brother's funeral and turning up and getting mad? Like, he's like, I say, babe, this don't have no cooth, babe. Like, mad. Then when we get to the graveyard, Louis mommy still having a attitude with him. He gonna ask his mommy if she want him to walk her home, and she's like no, and then immediately turns to Levi, Gretna husband, to ask him if he could do it. This bitch. And Gretna tell him like, hey, listen, she didn't mean it. And Louis like, she did mean it. And she was like, don't internalize it. She just needs somebody to blame right now. That's all it is. And so now on top of that, while this is happening, you believe this vampire is literally in his brain trying to tell him, oh, come to me. He trying to bury his brother in this vampire, focused on getting his dick wet. This shit run me so hot. So now Louis stress out. He feels so guilty. He feel like all of this is because he gone man. His mommy blaming him for his brother's death. He thinking it's because he stressed out because he feel like this white man really was the devil. That man come there to Paul. Now Paul dead. The mommy blaming him. He feel terrible. He start drinking. He get dead drunk. When you look, my man start racing to the church. Fucking knees to chest. He at the church. He begged the fathers, let me in. The priest. He get in the box and he start to do confessions. Y'all ain't believe as he in the middle of the best monologue I seen in a little bit, talking about all of his sins and how he laid with a man. He laid with a man and he laid with this white devil, and now this devil has done. You believe? I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Oh, this horrify me. This white vampire Elsie come into church and kill the priest, murder the priest, like viciously murder the priest. And then the other priest come running. He following the priest and he fucking blast you his face. And this him, Louis all dead scared. And he's like, oh, you praying to your fake, meaningless, weak God when I'm really God and all this. I'm like, and here's what's crazy. While I seeing the most demonic wickedness I ever did see, some demonic and wicked where me, who is not religious, I ain't even have no Bible in my house to clutch, but oh my God, I said, what is this? What is this? What is this? Imagine, you know how scary that is? Imagine going to the church to go pray, to go beg God for forgiveness. You talking to the priest for absolution, and a demon come in church and murder the priest. Like, if it's never been more clear that this is a wicked evil, I don't even. So then he gets in Louis' face and starts like trying to convince Louis to let him kill him. Like, oh, let me give you death. You not even being your real self. Oh, you should be gay and out and be my companion. And I love you. And just beg me. Just ask me to give you death. And I can make you powerful like what I am and all of this. And somehow I really could not understand how Louis could see what he just saw. Hear that deranged nut ass fucking speech and say, yeah, that sounds good to me. He's like, let me be my companion for the rest of forever. Yeah, yes. He said, what the fuck is this? What the fuck y'all be watching? Look here, y'all, I'm locked in, but y'all better not be trying to sell me on this bullshit like this is a love story. You better not. You bet not. Oh, and I'm sorry, I don't know how I almost forgot, but that white devil murdered Miss Lily. I completely forgot. Before Louis goes running to the church, he first goes to Fairplay, the white brothel, looking for Miss Lily, and old girl tells him Miss Lily died. Miss Lily was found under the docks. So one of the things that Louis confronts Elsie on when they're having this scary ass scene in the church after he done massacred the priest is he says, "You murdered Miss Lily," and he's like, "Oh, like she was living such a magnificent life." Just like, what the like, I cannot understand, like, other than the sheer undue manipulation and power and vulnerability and all these different things that he has over Louis in this moment. But bruh, what about a white devil traumatizing your brother, then your brother killing himself, then that white devil not giving a about your dead brother because he busy trying to you, trying to bury your brother, and he's screaming at you about ghosting him. He trying to lure you from the grave site because he trying to so he follows you into church to murder the priest. You find out he murdered Miss Lily, and something about that says to you, let me join him for the rest of my life. Y'all ain't gonna be able to convince me that Louis ain't a dumb bitch after that. Like,